Something just happened at the Supreme Court last night that every gun owner in America needs to hear about right now. And most people have absolutely no idea it occurred. This changes everything about how you carry, store, and even talk about your firearm in public. And if you get this wrong, it could cost you your rights, your gun, or your freedom. And honestly, if nobody has told you about this yet, that is exactly why this channel exists. The mainstream media is not going to break this down for you in a way that actually makes sense. They are going to talk over your head with legal language that means nothing to your daily life. So if you are not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon right now because the next update on this ruling could drop any day and you need to be the first to know. Here is what this video is going to do for you. By the end of this video, you will understand what the Supreme Court actually decided, why it was 5-4, what it means for your gun rights in your state, and what you need to do immediately to stay legal and protected. You're also going to learn 3 dangerous myths that gun owners believe right now that could land them in handcuffs. By the time this video ends, you will understand this ruling better than most gun owners in America. So let me take you back to where this all started. Because this did not happen overnight. This has been building for years, and you need to understand the full picture. Picture this. It is late at night. The country is asleep, and 5 justices of the United States Supreme Court quietly sign off on a ruling that shifts the legal ground beneath every gun owner in this country. No press conference, no big announcement on the 6 News, just a decision posted to the Supreme Court website in the middle of the night that lawyers immediately started scrambling to read and understand. That is how it happened. A midnight ruling that most people woke up to without even knowing it existed. Here is what happened leading up to this moment. For the last several years, lower courts across the country have been wrestling with a key question that came out of the Supreme Court's landmark 2022 decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. That decision said that gun laws in America must be rooted in the historical tradition of firearm regulation that existed when the Second Amendment was written. In simple words, if a gun law does not match something that existed back in the 1700s or 1800s, it might not be constitutional anymore. Think about it this way. Imagine you're playing a game and halfway through someone changes the rulebook. That is what Bruin did to every gun law in America. Suddenly, federal prosecutors, state attorneys, defense lawyers, and judges were all arguing about which modern gun laws could survive and which ones had to go. This created chaos in the courts. Some laws got struck down, others were upheld, and in different parts of the country, the same type of gun charge was getting different outcomes. A person in Texas was winning a case that a person in New York was losing, even though the facts were almost identical. And that is exactly what brought this new 5-4 ruling to life. The Supreme Court took up a case to settle the confusion. The case centered around whether certain restrictions tied to background check requirements and firearm transfer rules violated the Second Amendment under the new Bruin standard. 4 justices said those restrictions were fine. 5 justices said otherwise. And that one vote difference, that single deciding vote, is now the law of the land for every gun owner in America. Before I keep going, I have to stop and ask you something directly. Does your state have strict gun laws, or is it more relaxed when it comes to carrying and owning firearms? Drop your state in the comments right now. I am not joking. I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know how this ruling is going to hit you personally. Your answer might even show up in a future video. Go ahead and drop it down there. I will wait. Now, let me break down the actual ruling for you, because this is where things get really important. The core of what the Supreme Court decided comes down to 3 specific things. The first thing is about the way firearm transfers are processed and recorded at the federal level. The court ruled 5-4 that certain documentation requirements tied to those transfers placed an unconstitutional burden on law-abiding citizens when no similar burden existed in historical American law. In simple words, if the government cannot point to a law from the founding era that matches the restriction they are putting on you today, that restriction does not hold up anymore. The second thing the ruling touched on is the legal standard that lower courts must now use when evaluating gun laws. Before this ruling, some courts were using a balancing test where they weighed public safety interest against gun rights. The Supreme Court shut that down. What that means for you is that courts can no longer simply say a gun law is okay because it might make people safer. They have to prove it is historically grounded. That is a much higher bar for the government to clear. The third and most personal part of this ruling deals with enforcement. The decision limits certain actions that law enforcement agencies have been using to flag, delay, or deny firearm transactions for reasons that the court found legally insufficient under the Second Amendment. Think of it like this. You walk into a store to legally buy a firearm. This ruling now puts legal pressure on that process and gives you stronger grounds to challenge it. That tight margin tells you how much is at stake, how divided the country is on this issue, and why the next Supreme Court appointment by any president will matter enormously to your gun rights. What that means for you is simple. Right now, based on this ruling, you have stronger legal standing to challenge certain delays or denials in firearm transactions. You have stronger grounds if you're charged under a law that cannot be traced back to historical tradition. And you now live in a country where the legal fight over your Second Amendment rights is more active and more urgent than it has ever been in your lifetime. Now, let me show you what this looks like in real life with 3 real situations that could happen to anyone watching this video. A 45-year-old truck driver named Marcus has owned guns his whole life. He goes to buy a new rifle at a sporting goods store and gets flagged in the background check system for a reason the system does not fully explain to him. Under the old legal standard, that delay could stretch for days or even result in a denial with very little recourse for Marcus. Under this new ruling, Marcus now has a stronger legal argument to push back on that vague flag and demand a clear lawful reason for the delay. His lawyer can now point directly to this ruling and say, "The government has to do better than this." Marcus does not lose his purchase that day. He knows his rights, and he uses them. A single mom named Sarah lives alone with her 2 kids in a state that had a specific firearm transfer restriction that this ruling directly challenges. She had been trying to transfer a handgun left to her by her late father into her name for months. The process kept getting stalled by paperwork requirements that felt endless and unreasonable. After this ruling, the legal pressure on those exact requirements increases significantly. Sarah connects with a local firearms attorney who uses this ruling to cut through the delays and get her the legal protection she deserves in her own home. A retired veteran named James has a clean record and has carried legally for 20 years. He read about this ruling online, but got a version that was so full of legal jargon he could not understand what actually changed. He goes into his next interaction with law enforcement not knowing how his rights just shifted. That confusion is dangerous. James needed someone to sit down and explain this to him the way I am explaining it to you right now in plain language without the noise. Right now, somewhere in America, there is a gun owner just like Marcus, just like Sarah, just like James, who has no idea what just changed. They are going to walk into a store, get into a situation, or face a legal moment, and they are going to get it wrong. Not because they are careless, but because nobody told them. You now know what they do not. Please share this video with one gun owner you care about. Just one person. Text it to them, send it in a group chat, post it on your page. You could genuinely save someone from a serious legal mistake just by doing that one simple thing. Now, let me bust 3 myths that are circulating right now that could seriously hurt you. A lot of people think that because the Supreme Court ruled in favor of gun owners, all gun laws in their state are now automatically invalid, and they can do whatever they want. That is completely wrong. This ruling does not wipe out your state laws overnight. State laws remain in effect until a court in your state applies this ruling to strike them down case by case. If you walk out of your house thinking this ruling gives you a free pass, you are going to end up in handcuffs. The ruling gives you ammunition in court. It does not change what is legal on the street today. One of the biggest mistakes gun owners make right now is assuming that the 5-4 ruling is permanent and settled forever. The Supreme Court can revisit decisions. Future courts with different justices can narrow or even overturn rulings. The Bruin standard itself is already being challenged in lower courts constantly. This ruling is strong, but it is not a locked vault. What that makes dangerous is the gun owner who stops paying attention, stops voting, and stops caring about who gets appointed to the court. Your rights are only as permanent as your willingness to protect them. Here is something that could actually get you arrested. A lot of gun owners now believe that if a law enforcement officer stops them, they can quote the Supreme Court ruling out loud as a reason to refuse cooperation. Do not do this. Officers enforce current law on the street, not Supreme Court opinions. If you start quoting case law during a traffic stop or encounter, you are escalating a situation that could end very badly for you. The courtroom is where this ruling protects you. The street is where your safety and your calm behavior protect you. Know the difference. Now, here is what you actually need to do right now, today, based on this ruling. The first step is to contact a licensed firearms attorney in your state this week. Not next month, this week. You do not need to have a problem to call one. You need them to tell you exactly how your state is responding to this ruling and whether any of your current licenses, permits, or carry situations are affected. A 1-hour consultation could save you years of legal trouble. The second step is to pull out your carry permit, your registration documents, or any paperwork connected to any firearm you own, and make sure everything is current and accurate. Anything expired, anything with an old address, anything outdated is a vulnerability for you right now. Fix it. The third step is to know exactly what to say if you are ever stopped by law enforcement while carrying. Say these words calmly and clearly. Say, "Officer, I want to be cooperative and respectful. I'm carrying a legally owned firearm and I have my permit right here." Then stop talking. Do not argue. Do not quote the Constitution. Do not bring up the Supreme Court. Let your calm, legal, documented behavior do all the work for you. Those words, said quietly and confidently, will de-escalate almost any encounter before it starts. The fourth step is to stay connected to channels and sources that track these legal changes in real time. Not just for big rulings, but for the smaller decisions in your state courts that happen every week and directly shape what is legal where you live. By the way, this is not the only law that changed recently. There are 4 other legal updates from the past 90 days that directly affect gun owners across the country, and I already made a video breaking all of them down one by one in plain English. It is on this channel right now. After this video ends, go find it. The title will catch your eye immediately, and I promise you will not believe how much has shifted without anyone telling you about it. Let me bring this all together for you now with a quick summary so you can walk away knowing exactly what just happened and what it means. Number 1, the Supreme Court issued a 5-4 midnight ruling that strengthens Second Amendment protections by requiring that any gun restriction must be rooted in historical American law from the founding era. Number 2, the ruling directly challenges certain firearm transfer documentation requirements and limits how agencies can flag or delay lawful purchases. Number 3, this ruling does not automatically remove any current state law. Your state laws are still in effect today until courts in your state act on this ruling. Number 4, the 3 biggest mistakes to avoid right now are assuming all gun laws are gone, assuming this ruling is permanent without staying engaged, and ever quoting Supreme Court cases to a police officer on the street. Number 5, your most important action steps are to consult a firearms attorney in your state, update all your documentation, know your calm and respectful script for law enforcement encounters, and stay connected to channels that track these changes for you. Your rights are not just words written on old paper. They are living, breathing protections that only exist as long as you understand them. Exercise them correctly and defend them with your voice and your vote. If this video helped you today, please subscribe right now because this kind of breakdown is exactly what this channel is built for. Drop your state in the comments below and tell me honestly how you think this ruling affects your day-to-day life as a gun owner. And if someone you know needs to hear this, please share this video with them today. Do not let someone you care about get caught off guard by a ruling they never even heard about. I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay legal.